Something that all monomers have in common, whether it's a monomer of a carbohydrate, such as a monosaccharide, a monomer of a protein, or a monomer of a nucleic acid, is that at one end of a monomer, there will always be a hydroxyl group, or an OH group. And at the other end of a monomer, there will always be a hydrogen atom. And again, this is true for all monomers. So in order to make a polymer, covalent bonds must be formed between monomers. So how are these covalent bonds formed? Well, basically the hydroxyl group from one monomer is removed at the same time as the hydrogen atom from the other monomer is also removed. And when this happens, the removed hydroxyl group and hydrogen atom interact. And as you can probably guess, they form water. 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. And then leaving behind a covalent bond between the monomers. Because the formation of this bond involves the removal of a water between 2 monomers, we call this a dehydration reaction. De meaning no, and hydration meaning or referring to water. Some people also call this a condensation reaction. And so if you hear anyone saying condensation reaction, they're just referring to a dehydration reaction. And it basically means the same thing because this leads to the formation of water. When we think about condensation, a lot of times we think about the little droplets that form on the outside of a glass when, it's condensing. And so if that helps you remember, we're forming water, water's leaving, so dehydration or condensation reaction. Now, the reverse of this process is also true. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's say you want to break the polymer down into its monomer subunits. How could we do this in a cell? Well, cells actually have a mechanism for doing this, and it's the exact opposite of what we just did. Cells basically break down polymers by simply reversing the reaction we just went over. So instead of forming water, the molecule of water is actually added between the 2 monomers within the polymer. And this breaks them up. So one end of the monomer gets a hydrogen atom and the other end of the monomer gets that hydroxyl group back. And we call this a hydrolysis reaction. Hydro, again referring to water, and then lysis, you're probably going to see this throughout the semester, it means to break. So since we are breaking up water in this reaction, we call it a hydrolysis reaction, hydrolysis.